Friends, I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so that means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. Got to make sure the tubes are connecting themselves before we can get into it, and it looks like they are connected. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started, so let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Judge Engoron. Oh, gosh, and we got some photos to look at, and I don't know where this is going to go today, but it's going to be terrible. This is Judge Engoron, and he put together a newsletter that went out to some people at a location called Wheatley, and there were two newsletters that he sent out, newsletter 51 and newsletter 63, and in it, he's got a bonus torso photo, is what he called it. His words, not mine. It's not a bonus where I come from, but he put it in his newsletter, and we're going to look at it because it's a little bit strange that he just kind of inserted it. We actually have the newsletters, and this is not like a health and wellness newsletter. This is not like a progress photo that you send to your trainer, all right? This is kind of a strange situation that's happening, and so we're going to go through it now. I am trying to censor any potential judicial nipples on the show, right? This is a family show, so we don't want any judicial nipples on the show. However, I cannot confirm that there will be no judicial nipples on this show. So generally speaking, we have a strong 100% no judicial nipple guarantee on this channel, but today I'm not so sure that we can abide by that, all right? Now, I have tried to censor this. You can see here we've got some censor photography so that we can avoid any judicial nipples, but it's a strange situation that we've got going on, and so we'll see what's up with Judge Engoron. And it's not just Judge Engoron that's a little bit weird. We heard yesterday from Alina Habba that they dug up this clip of Letitia James, okay? So these are the two people who are prosecuting Donald Trump, this judge, Mr. Bonus Torso guy, and Letitia James, who is out there in this new campaign clip talking about male, pale, and stale, okay? Running for office as a Democrat to prosecute Trump, male, pale, and stale. And we dug that up. And of course, Andy McCarthy's making this point, right? This great point that these people are elected. These two, geniuses are elected, and they have been organized to go after Trump and basically making the point that this whole dang thing is illegitimate. And then we'll wrap up this segment so we can just kind of, get rid of the imagery of judicial nipples. We'll just hear from Alina Habba, all right? She's going to walk us through. This is a long clip, but she is explaining to a news network exactly what happened in court yesterday because we really couldn't see what was happening. We could only just read some of the transcripts. And so we'll come in and we'll see what Alina Habba has to say just to kind of, cleanse the palate at the end of this segment for us all. All right, so it's going to be one of those days. Then we're going to turn our attention, we'll get serious, we'll turn our attention over to what's going on in Congress because they just released this new report from the Judiciary and the Oversight Committee where Stanford, we're learning, and CISA, the Cyber Infrastructure Security Administration, bunch of communist censors were out there coordinating to really silence some big names, okay, like big names. We know Trump was censored, but everybody else, right? Everybody on the right side, guys like Charlie Kirk, right? Huge followings on the X platform, all got censored. And we talked about what a horrific thing this is, that your free speech in the middle of a campaign where your political speech is supposed to be the most strong, it gets censored by the opposition party. It's really disgusting, but that's what we're seeing happen here. And then in our final segment, there was this great report. The digging was done over by the Blaze. And this guy may have been caught in a little bit of perjury. Time will tell. His name is David Lazarus. David Lazarus is this guy, now caught on CCTV footage from the Capitol building. He testified at the Oath Keepers trial. He said that he was one location, and it turns out he was not. He was actually elsewhere. And so Representative Loudermilk released the images. And then the Blaze put together two reports that are explaining this guy lied, lied on the stand. And so we're not, confirming that yet, but it certainly is a strong implication because the CCTV cameras show that he was in a different location than where he said he was when he was under attack by the Oath Keepers. And so we'll go through both those reports. That one came over from Steve Baker at TPC4 USA. Another great follow on the X platform, and it involves this guy, U.S. Capitol Police Harry Dunn. Remember him? Look at those little puppy dog eyes. Yeah, he was talking to Liz Cheney. So sad, scared. All right, so we're going to go through all of it, my friends. You can see we've got 3 segments to get to today, and I'm excited that you are here and with us because we're going to need each other's support to get through this segment. I'll tell you that right now. But we also want to invite you to join us. This morning, we had a great members-only stream. We were super tight on time yesterday because the show was just so full of juiciness. But we had a great stream this morning talking about some of the comments from yesterday. We also talked about, well, a bunch of other stuff. The elections, what's happening with Ron DeSantis. He just got endorsed by the governor of Iowa, and some other fun stuff there, including Biden's crashing poll numbers. And so if you're looking for a little bit more variety, to jump into some other conversations and to meet some amazing people in our community, the best place to join us is watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We do after parties after the show's over, so stick around. And we'll be seeing you to debrief some of this stuff. And then, of course, we'll have you join us over on Locals for the Saturday stream. The Saturday stream is where we have a lot of fun as well. So watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where you can join us. You can also check out our website, robertgovea.com, and we're adding content to this every single day. So you can go here, sign up for our daily newsletter. You can get access to the mind map and all the show notes. Basically, everything that's I'm about to go through on your screen, you can get access to right here, robertgovea.com. Sign up for the newsletter, or if you just want to grab the PDFs and read the reports, click the reports section, and you'll see all the documents will be here. You can just browse the news, get the latest, forward this stuff to friends and family member, invite them to the show, all at robertgovea.com. All right, and so without any further ado, my friends, let us get queued up and get ready for this segment. All right. We're ready. We're going in. Judge Engoron sent some very interesting photographs in a newsletter, 2 newsletters exactly, that went out to an alumni network. And one of those photos, Judge Engoron himself called a bonus torso photo. Now, it's not a fitness newsletter where he's sending trainer photography of what his performance looks like in the gym, but he is posting some updates, and he shared this photograph and others, and the source for all this information is our friends over at MarcoPoloUSA.org. They've got a great report called The Report on the Biden Laptop right there. Boom, you can get it at MarcoPoloUSA.org, buy a hard copy and hold on to it for all eternity. But it's curious because the photos are a little bit strange, right? We got some judicial nipples, and we're doing our best here to censor these things. But the reason why this stuff is important is because this is a judge, and of course you don't want judges to engage in voyeurism by spreading their almost genitals around. We're going to see where he held the phone, where he took a photograph of himself and then spammed it out to everybody. And really, it's kind of a non sequitur. Why do we have these photos there? But okay, it's just the judge plus Letitia James. She's out there, male, pale, and stale. And these two are 2 elected Democrats who are really in control of Trump's entire business and his entire fortune, right? All of the things that he's worked hard for the last 50 years are now in the hands of these 2 people, bonus torso photo guy and Letitia, male, pale, and stale James. Are you serious right now? So we're going to go through this. We are unfortunately going to have to go through some of these photographs. Just to be clear, we have the newsletters where he put the photos in so you can see the context of where they came from. And then we'll finish up with Alina Habba, who's going to explain what this judge did in the courtroom, okay? What this type of conduct looks like when it's on display. And so for a little backstory, of course, the original source is MarcoPoloUSA.org, but we saw this over on the X platform from Colin Rugg, who's also referencing Marco Polo. He says, look, the judge presiding over the Trump trial appears to have a peculiar hobby of posting half-naked photos of himself on a high school alumni newsletter that he controls, right? It's his, and he sends it out, so he gets to put what's in there. Nobody else approved this editorial decision to put judicial nipples on the entire display for the entire high school alumni network, for crying out loud. 74-year-old judge appeared to even post a bonus torso photo in what looks like to be the bathroom of the gym. Now, one of the set of images seems to be progress pictures. And by the way, I'm all in favor of lifting weights, of course. And I think everybody should lift weights, including Judge Engoron, even though, he's wrecking the country with his reckless judicial proceedings. But everybody should be lifting weights. And I'm in favor of progress pics, by the way, but they should go to your trainer, you know, or to somebody in your physical space, unless you're a fitness influencer or unless you're somebody who's sending it to a friend and your accountability buddy or something like that. It's generally not appropriate for judges to do that, generally speaking. But let's see, you can be the judge of this. I'll let you reserve judgment and come to your own conclusions. Now, one set of the images seems to be progress pictures. Another picture shows the same body flexing excessively to show off his muscle gains. Now, Judge Arthur Engoron, as we can see here, is the editor of the Wheatley School Alumni Association newsletter, according to the post on the website. Colin says the man is not well. Now, if you scroll down there, you're going to see some judicial nipples. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to try to censor this out. All right. So I'm going to try to spare all of our eyeballs a little bit. And here is what I've done. I spent all afternoon working hard on this. So hopefully our eyeballs are saved. This is what he saw. Okay. Before and after photos, got the whole chest redacted here. And this is what he wrote in the actual articles. All right. So the Wheatley School alumni, this is him. Okay. This is his send off. Art Engoron at his Gmail, and he's got these two photos, okay, before and after. This one's August 2021. And you can see it. And then he's got this other photograph with him and this other dude, and they're at the gym, which I support, by the way. Totally support the gym. And, he's looking like he's got some vascularity going on in his right bicep. It doesn't look bad, kind of puffing up a little bit. That's okay. But if you go over here, now, what you'll notice is that these photos are definitely him. Okay, so this photograph here, we've got the judicial nipples redacted here with Tishy. But look at this cell phone, okay, where this is being held. Okay, look at this cell phone. This is like this. That's like, genital area. This is not really appropriate for a judge, man. That judge is naked in there. Yes, you are. And he's got, you can see, a little skin there. And he's like naked, like taking photographs of himself in the gym and then sending that stuff out to his alumni network. Now, you might be saying, Rob, maybe are they talking about fitness? Are they talking about health and wellness? Are they talking about TRT? Are they talking about peptides or HGH? What are they talking about? Maybe it's relevant. Maybe it's an alumni network. Maybe, I don't know. So you see that. Now, we're also referencing, okay, so what they did is they took this photo just to make sure that this is the judge, right, with his, just barely above the wiener photograph phone held there. So they're matching the photos, right? They're matching the judge's bicep over here with this bicep. And yeah, he looks like he put on a little bit of vascularity there. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad there. That's good, Judge. That's good, Judge. And, you should be working on it now. All right. So I prepared another image, but okay, we'll come back to that one. Oh my gosh. All right. So we're going to come back to that one. Now, I wanted to share because it definitely looks like it's him, right? I mean, it's definitely him. There's no question about it. And so I wanted to show you the actual newsletters. Okay. The newsletters here, we got to be careful because we're trying to avoid judicial nipples here, but there are two of them. Newsletter number 51. All right. This is the actual newsletter that goes out. So again, right, if this is a fitness magazine, if this is an influencer magazine, if there's something related to this, then okay. But this is newsletter number 51. He says, "Dear Wheatley Wildcats," and again, this is being written by the judge. Public service announcements, class of 1969. And he said, we had two guest attendees, Art Engoron. So he's talking about himself. He's the editor of the Wheatley School Alumni Association. He helped kick off the event. And the show began, the feedback, some attendee comments. Everybody's very happy. Great job, guys. You guys did an amazing job. There was also a Zoom meeting that took place. You can see this is the newsletter that's going out to everybody. So all these people are on the Zoom, and they're all hanging out. They're saying a savior for the Hildebrands. Oh, whatever that story is. Wheatley football seems like a good thing. Maybe the photos are related to football. I don't know. The usual words of wisdom. So somebody wrote this one. Thanks to our fabulous webmaster. You guys are doing great stuff. He talks about the faculty. Robert Brandt, a scholar. And Steve Finkelstein's great. Hey, a graduate. Bruce Richardson. So it's just kind of like memory, right? Just going down memory lane. Wow. Memory to this person. Stuart Fox, deceased. Rest in peace, man. And they're writing, little updates here. If you want to leave a message for him, you certainly can. John Sullivan's there. Here's another person. So it's just kind of like a nice tribute to all these people. Jeff's there with his wife. What a nice couple. Now, he's an architect. Amazing. So 1966, right? We're going down the news copy. Oh, Art Engoron. Art Engoron's including, Art Engoron is including some of his work in here. Hey, look what I've done. Trump subpoena court documents. Eric Trump must give a deposition before the election judge. New York Times, Eric Trump investigation election. Oh, this is curious. So he's saying, hey, look at me. Look what I'm doing. Okay, so these are highlights. Art Engoron, the judge. 1967 is what, and this guy, he was in a hospital, so it's an update from Jay. These are all updates on the people. And Art is prosecuting Trump. Judge voids a city permit. Controversial Upper West Side location, luxury mega tower. Copy of decisions available upon request. And so the judge is like proud of it, right? Hey, guys, look what I'm doing here. Take a look at me. Now, then we've got tributes and some other things coming in. This one's from Gerald. Roger's got an update. And he's working at Gimbel and Associates or something. And they have an update from them. Now, see, we're just going through these updates. Now, we already had an Art Engoron update, okay, just to be clear. Didn't we? He already said that he's subpoenaing Donald Trump and he's wrecking everything. But now the question is, what else do we have updates about? And a lot of these images are still loading, so I'm fast forwarding through a lot of this. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. And then, here we go. And then, here's the latest. We're still scrolling down. 2006, Mark Rosen has an update. He writes, Dear Art Engoron, thank you for inviting me to do this mini bio. It's been 14 years since I've been through Wheatley, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all these updates, very nice. Now, we just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And he says, down here, look what just pops out of nowhere. Bonus torso photo, man. We're just scrolling down, and there it is. It's the bonus torso photo. And I think if we continue to scroll, yeah, we're going to get some nips in there, some judicial nips. So what we're going to do, right, and this is the non sequitur, like, what the heck? What the heck is all this? And then there's a bonus torso photo. And then when you keep scrolling down, all right, here's what you get, right? That's the rest of the judge. That's in the newsletter. And then he finishes it up. Fan mail, coronavirus thoughts, and a few other email addresses. Bonus torso photo. Here's the rest of the email. Here's the rest of the newsletter. Signed off on by Arthur Friedrichs Engoron. What on earth? And so the photo, my friends, I mean, if you really want to see it, here it is. This is redacted. This is the bonus torso photo. And so this is what it looked like, right? We've got the redactions here so that we are compliant of integrity on this channel. We're very, very cognizant of the rules. So this photo is a little troubling, it's a little bit strange to include. And here's another one. And it's also a strange location for his cell phone. There's just a lot of weird things going on. So, it's a little troubling, but that's the judge. And it is curious because he did the same thing in another newsletter, right? And this is newsletter number 63. 63 is here. And this is another one. And this one was also archived. And so this is sometime later. The usual words of wisdom. Wheatley's greatness through the ages, right? He's sending another thing. Graduation speech, Pledge of Allegiance, other updates on graduates. You can see this one's a little bit shorter. Class of students whose last name started with E through G. List them all out here. More updates from some other people. Linda's got an update. Man in the news. Oh, what's this? A man in the news. Judge Engoron's very thrilled about this. Look what he's sending to his listserv. In addition to judicial nipples. He says, Washington Post, Trump Organization records Attorney General James. Wall Street Journal, Trump Organization must comply with New York State subpoenas, the judge rules. Trump Organization, warned by the judge to comply with the New York subpoenas. Trump Organization and taxes in New York. What did a judge just order top leadership in the Trump Organization to do? this judge is just like giddy with himself. Like this is like his little, blog. He's very excited with his efforts. This is Judge Engoron with his band of brothers. And the letter goes out. Here's, looks like Judge Engoron is teaching Art the moves or something. And then there's just more updates on this thing. And then we're going to get to another one, a classic reunion picture, more updates. And then there it comes again, man. Before and after photos of the judge. And there it is, right there again. And those are the two photos that I was just sharing with you. Here, let's go back to the censored photos. These are the before and after photos. Bonus torso pic, right? That's before, that's after. Angle looks a little bit different. Honestly, the lighting looks a little bit different. You see this top lighting here. That really makes you look bigger than you are, honestly. It kind of gives you some good shadows on the underside of your muscles. So it's better lighting. He's also extending. He's not, putting his arms in, but it looks better. It looks like he's adding a little bit more mass to him, especially here, this tricep and this bicep. Good vascularity. I totally endorse physical fitness. I just don't endorse judges sending their nipples to their captive listserv. That's a little strange. But this whole case is strange. And of course, Judge Engoron is not the only person who is involved in the strangeness, or let's say this, it's worse than strange. It is very problematic what they're doing. But we're going to hear from Andy McCarthy, who explains that these are two Democrats that have been involved in this, in this weaponized prosecution of Trump. And this was a clip that Alina Habba mentioned earlier on in her testimony, or in her interview with the media yesterday, said that they dug this up. Letitia, the same woman who has facial spasms when she says illegitimate president, referring to Donald Trump, she was saying that Trump and his administration, and I guess white people, are white, pale, and stale.
This together now. And so we've got to stand up to the federal government. We've got to stand up to bullies. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. And we will not go away silently. We will not be silent in the face of this oppression. We will not.
She will not be silent. It's very annoying. She just talks a lot, doesn't really do much of anything other than hand off the case to her other people who do the actual prosecution of it. But she's a figurehead. And it's just amazing how you have this literal racism coming out of these people's mouths. Male and pale and stale. What the heck is that, man? It's actual racism. Okay, now I don't know what she's talking about, but male and pale and stale, and then the whole crowd just stands around and chants with her. It's unbelievable. But she's the prosecutor, okay? She's the person, along with this guy, who are deciding the fate of billion-dollar companies like Donald Trump's. So it's wild. Now, Andy McCarthy brought up a good point. Of course, he says this is all about as partisan as you can consider, and it's something that Trump posted, right? Trump posted this on Truth. He said this. Andy McCarthy says this whole justice system is fraudulent in the sense that these are elected Democrats. Here's McCarthy.
I think, first of all, this whole New York justice system, Bill, is fraudulent in the sense that these are elected Democrats. She is an elected Democrat who, as you point out, campaigned for office on a vow that she would use the power of the state to get him, which is a kind of a Soviet way of going about your business. The judge is an elected Democrat. So the whole system is not like what we have in the federal system, where you have appointed prosecutors and appointed judges who are vetted by the Senate, at least in the hope that it will ensure that they won't use their power in an abusive way. In this system, they're actually electing people on a promise of going after individuals who happen to be their political enemies. So that should be troubling enough. But the other thing is, just in terms of like a sort of Eighth Amendment punishment principle, where you have in this case a situation where the penalty they're talking about is so out of whack with the infraction that it ought to back everybody up. I mean, if you want to tell me that maybe they should fine Trump $1 million because he inflated his assets. I wouldn't be my way of doing a system, but fine. That's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about in a case where you have no victims of fraud, disgorging him of $250 million or more of profits and putting him out of business under circumstances where there's not a single person or a single entity that actually got defrauded here.
There's also this controversy.
Gross behavior, not only from the judge and Tishy, but the entire organization there in New York, right? Everybody who's involved is all going along with this giant scam. And so that is Andy McCarthy, who is, I think, making a good point that the whole thing is illegitimate. They're elected. They don't really care about what happens because they only are answerable to the electorate. And in New York, it is overwhelmingly Democrat. So as long as they just do what they're ordered to do, justice be damned. They're just going to run for re-election. Tishy is getting more exposure now than ever. And she goes out every day in front of the court steps and makes her statements. And she's very pleased with herself. And so to cleanse the palate, to add a little bleach into our eyeballs, to clear out the judicial nipple problem that we just had to endure, we got Alina Habba. She showed up on Fox Business, and she got asked some questions about this.
I want to ask.
Long conversation, but I want to go through it and hear what she has to say because she's explaining what happened inside the courtroom.
That this judge won't let.
Honestly, none of the above. What would happen was they would show him 2 paragraphs on the screen. They would say, okay, here's 2 paragraphs on the screen. Mr. President, did you certify to this? And he would say, well, the 2 paragraphs discuss insurance, they discuss value, and they discuss how I can rent certain property, 40 Wall Street, for instance. Let me explain. First, let me hit the value. First, let me hit the insurance. Let me hit this. Let me hit that. And he would go into explaining to them that maybe you have a loan document that says that I have to have a net worth of $50 million, basic. Okay, but there's certain provisions there with step downs and things like that. It's not that simple. If I have to be absolutely honest with you, Larry, I think that they really should have thought about the legal team questioning somebody who is a real estate tycoon, a real estate mogul, is going to go down as one of the greats.
Spent his whole life.
They don't get it, and they're trying to attack and criticize somebody. You better be an expert.
He's trying.
That was the same point we made yesterday. Trump was just kind of playing with them. No, and he said, I can just look at a building and tell you. And I actually believe that, right? Because I know that I can look at a criminal case and be pretty close to how it's going to turn out at the end of the day, right? Because you do enough of it, you just get a second sense about it. And so, right, that doesn't mean Trump's making it up, but he can justify all of that, right? That sense comes from something. And he was communicating that way even through the X transcripts that we were reading yesterday.
See, look, as somebody who knows him rather well, he's trying to explain what I'm going to call the science of real estate.
That's right.
The accounting of real estate, the economics of real estate, okay? And he knows it very well. You might disagree with some of it, but he knows it very well.
That's right.
And this judge, as I understand it, will not let him finish these paragraphs.
No.
And I don't know. And the other thing, I think this showed up, you were on, your presser was during Sandra and Smith and John Roberts. Has a president ever testified like this in court?
No.
Never.
It's a disgrace.
So they won't give him the grace to do that.
It's really, they're cutting him off, and I objected, and there was a fiery exchange with the judge.
Yeah.
Frankly, I can't even say it was with the judge and I. I'm very polite. I'm very professional when I'm in the courtroom. But the judge did not like him finishing or explaining because it wasn't good for their case, and he's interfering. He's made his decision. Let's not forget that, Larry. He made his decision on summary judgment. He found liability already. So now we're wasting taxpayer dollars for months and months and months. $450,000 for an expert the AG paid. Yeah. Taxpayer dollars, those New York taxpayer dollars. We're wasting all this time, and he won't even let the president, who's the person they're trying to get to, explain why he's certified to certain values. Why? Because the minute he starts to explain it, it ruins their case. He was worth more than his statement of financial condition. And Miss James, her politics, are not allowing her now to backtrack. She needs a PR team, I'm telling you.
Well, she looks like a damn fool.
Yeah.
But putting that aside, I mean, it's the same story with the Mar-a-Lago property in Palm Beach. Every realtor is laughing at the tax assessor's assessment, which you and I talked about a month ago.
$18
Every
million
realtor knows
Mar-a-Lago.
what Trump is talking about in this courtroom. The guy that doesn't know what he's talking about is a politically biased left-wing judge who won't let the 45th president make his case.
Who sends nipple photos to his alumni network, 2 of them, 2 newsletters.
Is one of the worst parts of this whole story. You call a trial, you make these charges, the president, who doesn't have to, comes in? Really? I mean, you could do it just as well, but he came in and they won't let him finish his paragraph?
Not only that, Larry, in the beginning, and this isn't going to be reported, but in the beginning, the judge kept trying to say, if you do it again, I'm just going to tell you to leave and I'm going to have a negative inference. First of all, you can't really do that. But he was trying to find a reason because he was panicked. This is an elected official. The judge is an elected official. Letitia James is an elected official. We can't have elected officials who need to be bipartisan, who need to be on the side of their democratic thinking, their left-wing, radical left thinking. We can't have people like that on the bench, and then we sit here and can't put our case up. It doesn't make sense.
You know, I know there are a lot of left-wing judges in New York. I get that. But there are also some good judges.
There are.
There's a court of appeals in this state. There's an appellate court, all that stuff. You have the New York Bar Association. I know it leans left, but they're not crazy people.
No.
There are a lot of wonderful law firms. Law firms, by the way, whose chief officers are Republicans, believe it or not. So I'm waiting for people to start speaking out regarding the injustice of the way this judge is treating the 45th president. Do you see my point?
I do.
Somebody has to stop the circus and say, this guy, what's his name, the name of the judge?
Judge Engoron.
He is a bad apple, and we don't want to stand behind him because he's making all of us in New York look bad.
That's the truth.
I'm waiting for someone to do that.
That's the truth. And I think that
just step up.
Trump is the only one. Who else is there? Other Republicans? There is nobody else to stand up for this. Who else is there? Literally nobody. The other Republicans should, don't get me wrong, all the Republicans should be circling the wagons to fortify against this, because little do they know they're next. If they don't stop this, do they think that it's going to end with Trump? If they knock Trump aside for whatever reason, and I doubt that they'll be able to do that, but they're not going to be that they're not going to try. But if they were, does DeSantis really think he's not going to come under the same scrutiny, or Nikki Haley? Or the idea is that they just play with it, right? They just play along with the charade, which is why they're not under the same type of pressure.
Up and say that. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. This is ruining the legal establishment of New York. This guy's a clown, and everybody knows it. And then there's this issue.
All lawyers should. Every single lawyer should be outraged about what's happening here, because it's wrecking their profession. It's wrecking the profession. How can you have justice if you have a situation like this? You can't.
Well, he's got a clerk, a law clerk who's, you've got a mile-long list of left-wing causes she's donated to. What's up with that?
Well, I've been gagged and I'm not permitted to talk about it.
Don't say a word.
I'm not permitted to talk about it.
I want to keep you out of jail.
But I think that says it all. I'm not permitted to sit here and talk about it. I
Where
am a
is the
legal
gag
spokeswoman for the president.
He's gagging the president.
He's
gagging
me
you.
as well, yeah.
He can't gag me because I'm in journalism.
You're free to say what you want.
But really, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're free to talk about Judge Engoron's Greenfield, his law clerk who's passing him notes, little love notes all day. I don't know if she's massaging his neck or something. I don't know, because the lawyers are gagged. They can't talk about it. So she might be giving him foot massages and helping him on his rulings. Nobody knows, because the attorneys can't even talk about it because he gagged them. And then he told Chris, when Chris was going to file a motion about it, file it under seal, essentially, and don't file it, Chris, or something.
Crazy stuff. So, all right, what happens next?
What happens next? Well, this week we're going to finish. They're going to rest their case. We are obviously going to move to completely dismiss this case. There should be a mistrial based on some of the things you mentioned today that I can't talk about. There should be a mistrial here. Bias in general, I'll say, there is judicial code of ethics. Those ethics extend to the entire courtroom. And when you violate the rules of judicial ethics, there need to be certain things that hold you accountable. Your license, that's why there is the bar, that's why there are ethics. There needs to be rules regarding people's ability to believe in an impartial system. And I do believe it as an American. It's my mission to bring to light when there isn't that, because not everybody's Donald Trump. Not everybody can pay for a team of 20 lawyers.
Exactly.
And if we don't stop it now, we're going to be in real deep trouble. I think we already, frankly, are.
Well, I think, as I said before, I think calmer heads have to prevail with respect to the New York legal system, because it looks like a clown show to the rest of the world. I also think people, whatever your opinions of my former boss, the fact remains He's the 45th president. He did not have to testify in court, and he did to make a case about the economics and science of real estate. He could have given these guys a lesson if the judge had just listened.
Yeah, well, he did give them a lesson.
Judge might have, hang on a second, he might have learned something. Can you imagine a judge learning something?
You know, I would invite that judge to come see some of these properties. Go step on Mar-a-Lago. Go tell me that that's worth $18 million. Go. I mean, it's so absurd that the country is laughing. And if he has any, self-respect, you have an opportunity to turn this around.
The whole west side of New York was changed by Donald Trump. The skyline, the whole east side of New York was changed by Donald Trump. Anyway.
Yeah.
All that history means nothing because we've got two lunatics who are in charge of Trump's entire empire. This guy who, sends nipples to his alumni, to the same guy who says that you can't even comment on his Greenfield law clerk who's passing him love notes. Letitia James, who literally ran for office on prosecuting Trump, now calling white people male, pale, and stale. Right? This is the environment. And this is not what it's supposed to be like in America. When the judicial system fails, when people like this can compromise the entire process, meaning there is no more due process, it's not good. Society cannot function in that manner, which maybe is what they want. And so, I agree with Kudlow and Alina. It's a horrific situation. I wish more people in New York were speaking out. Where are the Supreme Court judges? Where are the legislature individuals, cobbling together to respond to this? Nothing. They're all in on it. They all want it to happen because their politics are more powerful for them than their sense of justice or their sense of equality under the law. They'd rather just prosecute their political opponents, and that's how you know a society is failing. So we'll continue to cover this, my friends. Ivanka Trump is going to testify, and there will be a ruling at some point, and so we'll have closing arguments and more. We'll continue to cover this case and the rest of the Trump trials. Thank you for subscribing and covering this with us, joining us as we do, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. We're going to have a lot of nipple super chats coming up. I didn't want to cover it. I didn't want to, but we had to. It's in the news, and it's related to the case. And it's just, it's just perfect for this trial. All right, so let's change gears. We've got a nice memo from Congress, and so this is going to be interesting. A new report shows that right-leaning voices were censored not only by CISA, the Cyber Infrastructure Security Agency, but also another substrata, a different layer of other censors called the universities. They created this specific entity that was then working with the big tech companies to silence some of the biggest voices on the right side of the conversation right when it mattered most, right in the middle of 2020 when we were wanting to have a conversation. And so we're going to go through this report. It is very interesting. We'll hit the highlights. It's quite long and there's a lot of detail, 104 pages, as you can see. And it's entitled The Weaponization of Disinformation, okay, using pseudo experts and how the federal government partnered with universities to censor Americans' political speech. It's a big one and it's a good one. They write, this came out from the Oversight and the Weaponization Committee, the Judiciary and the Weaponization Committee from the House of Representatives. The executive summary reads as follows. They tell us, following the 2016 presidential election, a sensationalized narrative emerged that foreign, quote, disinformation affected the integrity of the election. Now, these claims, fueled by left-wing election denialism when they said that Trump was illegitimate, it sparked a new focus on the role of social media companies. Disinformation, so-called think tanks, and experts like government task forces and university centers were all formed, all to, quote, study and combat the alleged rise in mis- and disinformation. They were never going to let this happen again. And there was something that happened in 2016. I mean, if you were on the internet, there was so much energy on the internet. It was meme magic. People were making all sorts of, interesting videos, and it was just like wildfire on the internet about Trump. And we weren't even doing, video content at that time or political content, but we were watching it happen. And then 2020 felt a little bit different, didn't it? They kind of stopped all of that from happening. People were being censored. We got multiple strikes on this channel, and the whole thing went, haywire after they were concerned about Trump winning again. So as the House Committee on Judiciary and Weaponization have shown previously, these efforts to stop foreign influence and misinformation quickly mutated to include domestic, right? So it was ma Russia, ma Russia, ma Russia, then all of a sudden it's you and me. So the First Amendment to the Constitution says rightly limits the government's role in censoring people, but they cannot outsource the censorship to a newly emerging censorship industrial complex. They tell us, enter the EIP. Okay, this is the new organization, kind of like this substrata, and I want to show you kind of what it looks like. Okay, the EIP is this. Federal government, through CISA and the GEC, they work with the EIP, which is this like fake layer to give them legitimacy. It's one step removed, all right? Federal government cannot just communicate to Facebook directly, for example, and say, can you censor all of these things? So they created a third-party intermediary called the Stanford Internet Observatory with all these organizations, creating the Election Integrity Partnership, which was a cabal to censor people who were pro-Trump or anti-state narrative. And so they tell us that since that was created, here it was a consortium of academics, so-called disinformation academics, led by Stanford, that worked directly with DHS and the Global Engagement Center, which was a multi-entity agency entity that was housed within the Department of State. And what they did was monitor and censor Americans' online speech in advance of 2020. Created in the summer of 2020 at the request of CISA, the EIP provided a way for the federal government to launder, what a great word, its censorship activities in the hopes of bypassing both the First Amendment and public scrutiny, laundered it through the EIP so that their censorship went unnoticed. Now, in the lead up to the 2020 election, amid the pandemic and other things, the American public and lawmakers debated the merits of unprecedented mid-election cycle changes to the election procedures. And we covered here, during that time, probably a dozen different lawsuits. We had a table with the locations and who was winning and what the status was. Now, these issues, like all contemporary discourse, in other words, can you just change all of the election rules because you're scared about a virus? Can you just do that? Because there are certain mechanisms by which you're supposed to do that. One of which is having the state legislature actually make the change so that it's constitutional. But that didn't happen. They sued a bunch of secretaries of state. The secretaries of state then made the changes on their own, and then they just dealt with it in court. And the court said, well, you do have emergency powers to create drop boxes or to waive signature requests like we saw in various locations and all sorts of insane things. So we were supposed to be able to debate that. But as American citizens, including candidates, attempted to exercise their rights, their constitutionally protected speech was intentionally suppressed as a consequence of the feds and their direct coordination with third parties, including universities and social media platforms. Speech concerning elections, which should be the most protected, was not. The interim staff report details that the federal government used their heavy hand to facilitate censorship of Americans and their political rivals and their political speech in the run-up to 2020. This report also reveals, for the first time, secret, quote, misinformation reports from the EIP's centralized reporting system. So they just had like a ticket queue. They just sent people into them. We've got, that Watching the Watcher channel again is posting something bad. They funnel it in here. The committee and select subcommittee got these non-public reports from Stanford University only under threat of contempt of Congress. And these reports of alleged mis and disinformation were used to censor Americans engaged in core political speech. Now, the operation was pretty straightforward. Federal agencies operated and funded by the federal government. They submitted disinfo reports to the EIP. Then the analysts would scour the internet for additional examples, flag it. And then once all of the offending links were compiled, the EIP sent the most significant ones to the big tech platforms. So they're doing all the research. They bundle it up. And then they send all the links. So for example, like a Hunter Biden link, they go and they find all the links. They say, hey, big tech, you should limit the discoverability of these. So suppress them from being found. And also suspend a user's account. If any of the tagged influencers' account retweet it, they were theoretically moving thousands of posts. So they say that these experts were quick to cite the need to combat foreign actors, I'm sure. But they didn't target foreign and inauthentic accounts. They targeted Americans, disproportionately candidates and commentators with conservative viewpoints. And despite their stated goal, they were not following through with that. They were censoring true information and political speech. And they give us some examples here. They say, who was being censored? President Donald John Trump. Now, we knew that, right? They were suppressing his posts. We all knew that. That was on the X platform. But look at all these other names. And just think about this, right? These are players in the game on the right. And if they can't speak, that's a big problem for the right. Senator Tom Tillis, Newt Gingrich, Mike Huckabee, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene got censored. Newsmax, Babylon Bee, satire, joke site. Sean Hannity, Molly Hemingway, Harmeet Dillon, lawyer extraordinaire, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Jack Posobiec, Tom Fitton, James O'Keefe, Benny Johnson, Michelle Malkin, Sean Davis, Dave Rubin, Paul Sperry, Tracy Beans, Chanel Rion, and an untold number of everyday Americans of all political affiliations. And I can tell you this, we got multiple strikes on YouTube. I think we got a total of 4. The first one was a warning. Then we had 3 others. 2 of them I appealed, and 1 of them stuck. And medical misinformation and election information. And then right after January 6th, they demonetized the whole stinking channel. All right. And I'm sure it was probably going through this same entity, right? They're disinformation, COVID misinformation, election misinformation, blah, blah, blah. Censoring our speech, censoring our conversation here. What was being censored? True information. Obviously, everything we say is in our best attempt to be true, and all of the things that we got censored for turned out to be true, in my opinion. Now, jokes and satire and political opinions were all limited. Harmeet got this post. Newt got this post. Nuked. Gov Huckabee, Mike Huckabee got that post nuked. As part of this report, the committee is releasing all of the secret archive data that we've received. In the lead up to the election, DHS had the ability to see what American speech was being censored. And today, we know they were targeting conservatives. First Amendment says you can't do that. And so we're responsible for investigating this. And that is the executive summary. Now, let's see if there's any other juicy bits in here. They're going to give us a glossary of terms. CISA created this organization. Now, here are some of the emails. They tell us, DHS in litigation before the committee has insisted that CISA and the switchboarding role was only for misinformation. But documents obtained by the committee revealed that, quote, switchboarding, okay, this is a term of art here, quote, switchboarding could also include more substantive interaction. So, for example, in one email chain, a senior CISA official explained to the Office of the Colorado Secretary of State how Twitter handled flagged parody accounts and how Twitter is likely to handle accounts that have been flagged. So emails like this contradict one of the descriptions of CISA's switchboarding as a passive role, right? So they're just saying, oh no, we're just like observing passively. No, they're weighing in on the substance and they're communicating. Like, we've gotten these censored before, so we're going to censor these other ones. Hello again, just wanted to follow up a few points. Could you please confirm that the worker in question is not a poll worker and that he did not in fact destroy the ballots? Confirms, not a poll worker. And they say here, both A and B are correct, not a poll worker and no ballots destroyed. And this is all from CISA, okay? And CISA is sending emails to Facebook. So Brian Scully is communicating, right? Like substantively. They're not just saying that this is all passive. Here's another one. Talking about CISA, there's a disclaimer talking about the removal of items. And yeah, they're flagging things. So here you go. Please see below a report from Washington, right? This one got sent from CISA. Unsurprisingly, around this time, CISA began to follow up with social media platforms about the post that they'd flagged. Hey, this guy says from so-and-so, checking in to see if there's anything that can be shared in regards to this reported incident. Hey, we asked you to censor this, man. Why is it still up? They respond from Twitter to CISA, we will ask the team to review. Now, during his transcribed interview, Matt Masterson, a former senior cybersecurity at CISA, he testified that there were internal deliberations with CISA's lawyers about the disclaimer. Hey, Matt, do you recall any discussions during your tenure at CISA regarding if there were any constitutional implications if CISA's work engaged with, say, misinfo, disinfo coming from domestic actors? Like, did you guys talk about the legal consequences of censoring political speech of Americans? I don't recall a specific conversation around that. Obviously, they don't care. I recall that obviously the CISA lawyers were involved, as I previously indicated, for instance, around the disclaimer conversation, including lawyers, but I don't know or recall the specifics of any given conversations around that. They said that a refusal to respond to CISA might result in unfavorable action. And crucially, they said that this information may also be shared with law enforcement or other intelligence agencies. If you don't do what we ask, right, the threat of law enforcement reprisal is amplified by the fact that the FBI would inform social media companies about a misinfo report. So the social media companies were aware that CISA was sharing information. In other words, CISA indicated to the social media companies that CISA, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies may receive the misinformation report, but the disclaimer stated that only that CISA would not retaliate against the social media companies if they fail to censor the flagged content. Okay, so CISA says, look, we're working with you, and we're going to tell you about these things, and if you flag them or not, whatever. Okay, but we're not going to come after you. But we can't promise you that the FBI or one of the other intelligence agencies may do so, and we're sharing this with them. Okay, so we know that you got the report, and because we're working together, so like we're good, but we can't vouch for the other people. So like if you don't remove that, we're not going to do anything about it, but they might. So of course they're going to remove stuff. So social media companies were well aware that CISA was forwarding some subset of the reports to the FBI. In another interview with subcommittee, Facebook executive Alex Stamos testified that involvement with a law enforcement agency like the FBI was more worrisome than CISA. Says you can't have a casual chat with an FBI agent with you're an executive at a company. It's not safe. You end up with a $3,000 an hour row of people sitting in front of you. And what do you mean you can't have a casual conversation with the FBI? He's like, well, why is that? Well, he said, I think defense attorneys would tell you FBI agents are always looking out. You might feel like you're having a friendly conversation with them, but you might be the target. And I think there's been a number of situations in which companies have tried to engage with the FBI because they were victims of like a cybercrime, and then they end up, getting punished, or their executives get punished. Incredible. The Gestapo's in. Hey, can you help us? You're our government. You're supposed to serve us. They come in and indict you. And so, dealing with a law enforcement agency that has coercive powers is just a risky thing to do. If you're part of some bigger organization or some other thing, you don't want to know about it. They don't want you to know about the perspective you just shared about the FBI. Do you think that was widely shared with Facebook? Like, do you think that they were also freaked when the FBI was knocking on their door? He says, certainly. The policy of the company was that an executive could not talk to the FBI without lawyers present. Good policy. So even if the government says that their interests are aligned with them, it could be the case that the government changes its mind. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And this is a fact that's well known by tech executives. Yeah, I think a lot of executives of all the public companies understand that there's a lot of parts of the government that can punish you for activity that you thought was appropriate, right? Don't disobey the government. Don't deny them when they tell you to censor somebody. Here's another post from, it's misinformation at cisecurity.org. That's their email. And so you just, they send a report. Oh, thank you for submitting a report to the Election Infrastructure Information and Analysis Center. They've got a whole stinking, forum set up. We've already forwarded your claim to our partners. And so this acted as an intermediary. There was an actual reporting portal. Matt Bryan, I've spoken with you about this concept of helping election officials. We're beginning the development of a reporting portal that could be piloted as soon as the presidential primaries. Perfect. My goal is to demonstrate the basic capabilities and roll it out. Great to meet you. Here's our efforts. We want to provide a single place for people to report misinfo. Ease the burden on election officials when they go to report misinfo. Collect the information necessary for the FBI and the DHS to do their job. And expedite and enhance the process by which social media companies are made aware of the misinformation. They're only being made aware of it. The social media companies remove it, and they remove it under threat of some other government action because they're freaked. Rightfully so, by the way. You know, and I actually feel I have a little bit of sympathy for these big tech companies because the government is the government. I mean, it is a, you know, we make fun of them being so incompetent and disgusting, but they have total raw power. I mean, they are like, you know, when they act like it, they are tyrants, like literally. And they can do whatever they want. So these social media companies just get freaked, and I don't blame them. Provide visibility about what election, now they shouldn't censor Americans, right? They should do something about it. I'm not saying they should buckle, but you do have some you know, empathy from them when your government is breathing down your neck. So you facilitate information sharing between election officials and what they're seeing and provide meaningful feedback, and we're going to create this whole structure. Would you or anyone at Facebook have time to facilitate a meeting? I want to share a readout from our call. Look, this is from Facebook, man. May 31st, 2020. Hey team, wanted to share a readout from our call late Friday with DHS. Great job by everybody. No actions for us now, but we're going to reconvene, have a beta test of the new reporting portal in the next few weeks. Here's a highlight. Department of Homeland cannot openly endorse the portal because they don't want to be involved in it, but has behind the scenes signaled that NASD has told them it would be easier for many states to have one reporting channel, and CISA and ISAC would have two incoming at the same time. Now, CIS is talking to Twitter. CIS is talking to Google. They're talking to Graphica, Belfer Center. Not all the states are on board, but they want to launch the platform. They're also trying to connect API with Facebook, right? A censorship API. Social media companies, including Facebook and Twitter, engaged in months-long discussions about this. After being initially briefed in May, Facebook employees sent a list of questions to them about the portal. Here are some questions. What steps will they take to ensure that only misinfo will be surfaced via the portal? And how will you ensure quality control? Like, how are you not censoring everybody? What access controls are going to be put in place? How will the portal access be determined? What's the data retention for the portal? Man, a lot of questions here. Twitter was initially briefed. And again, Homeland appreciates the effort of Twitter to help improve the ability of election officials to submit misinfo and disinfo. And this was all, you know, like real legitimate stuff. Remember they said the Hunter Biden laptop was misinfo. Like Facebook, Twitter also had a list of questions. They're all, you know, kind of concerned that this may be violating their users' constitutional rights. But the pandemic reinforced CISA's desire to take a more active role. Director Krebs, one of the worst, participated in a broad stakeholder conference to provide an update about the activities. Monitoring disinformation. How quickly can we get it? Krebs, during his testimony, stated unequivocally on multiple occasions, he said CISA did not treat content on social media differently based on domestic or foreign origin. Wild. He says at one point, he even described the name CISA, which is called Countering Foreign Intelligence Task Force, as a misnomer. It's not foreign. It's American. They said, was there an effort, Chris, during this time to try to determine if the source was domestic or foreign? Like if you got a misinfo, like saying something about the pandemic or saying something about the election or whatever. Or Hunter. Did you try to determine if it was in fact Russian before you censored it? He says no. We certainly would look to the intelligence community if they made a determination on those things. But again, as these things pop up, things like, you know, hammer and scorecard, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's foreign or domestic. Well, it does for our side. Again, our authorities are rooted in the Homeland Security Act, which enables us to act on domestic or foreign threats. Again, they don't come waving a flag. So Homeland gives them permission to censor your political speech in America. Krebs reiterated their approach. He said, when did these discussions regarding domestic influence first start? I don't recall. Okay, were they ongoing by the beginning of 2020? Again, I don't recall, says Chris. I don't recall the moment in time or the periods of time within which we were thinking about the distinction between domestic and foreign. Again, I think this gets to, as we ultimately saw with rumor control, narratives are narratives, and we're providing explanation on how things actually work. So again, it would not matter if it was foreign or domestic for context, again, of rumor control. Our government is saying they're in charge of rumor control. What? In America, CISA's rumor control initiative. And he's saying we have total right to do it under the Homeland Act. CISA also considered its authority as extending to domestic speech. So the First Amendment gets put into the shredder because some Homeland Security Act. They sent this email from Robert Shull, CISA, to securingdemocracy.org, I'm sure, wrecking democracy. From somebody, hey, Rob, this was just one article. I want you to amplify, stop the steal. Otherwise, we haven't seen the accounts. Obviously, we're seeing domestically, particularly around mail-in fraud, is very concerning. I'll keep you in the loop if something pops up. Mail fraud disinfo is inbounds for us this time, whether it's domestic or foreign. So if you see something you're worried about, let us know, especially in our messaging can help. So if you have questions about mail fraud, you are now part of a rumor, and they have rumor control. So, my friends, this is what they are reporting. Now, the rest of this is, quite extensive. Lot of emails detailing the rest of this, and we'll post this full PDF file on robertgovea.com if you want to read through the rest of this. But they were censoring humor and satire. They were censoring jokes. Here, how many emergency boxes of votes did they find? Right, that got censored. More censorship of emergency Democrat votes. Candace Owen got censored. Charlie Kirk got censored. Sean Davis, Sean Hannity. They use coercion to try to get people to remove things. And the whole thing is just disgusting and reprehensible. And many of these people are still working in our government, right? They're still there. They censored Thomas Massie, and they've got just a ton of evidence there. So the censorship was consequential in 2020. I don't doubt it for a minute. I think it definitely swayed some percentage points, and it was a big, big deal. Now, the Supreme Court has said that the government can still interface with a lot of these other entities, and they can do so because the Missouri versus Biden case is still pending in front of SCOTUS. So until we get an order, the government can still engage in a lot of these conversations, and we don't know what they're doing. We know that Elon is in control of X now, but YouTube and Facebook and all of the other platforms that were out there originally, they're still thinking this way. Does this portal still exist? Are they still reporting this stuff? Hopefully Congress starts asking some questions about it, because we've got another election coming up pretty dang soon, and we'd like not to be censored this time. We'll continue to cover this, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you for subscribing and sharing the show with a friend or family member, inviting them over to join us, because there's a lot more to unpack here, and we'll look forward to seeing you and them on the next one. All right. Gosh, it makes my blood boil. I know it does to you too. Okay. Now, we got one final segment on the day, and this is some January 6th dishonesty, some potential perjury, some allegations that this guy was not honest during his testimony during the Oath Keepers trial. And so let's get right into it. Capitol Police Chief, somebody who is working close with Nancy Pelosi, may have been busted, caught in some perjury allegations, because he was on the stand with the Oath Keepers in their trial, against them in their trial, and he said that he was in certain locations under attack, and it turns out that maybe that's not in fact true. Representative Loudermilk released some images of this guy, and his name is David Lazarus, Capitol Police Special Agent, saying that he was working with Pelosi throughout this ordeal. And he, during his testimony, said that he was also communicating with this guy who you've seen all over the media, Capitol Police Harry Dunn. And so that's the background. These are the two individuals that we're going to be talking about. But we also have the report about the trial transcripts that was assembled and analyzed by our friends at The Blaze. And here is what they're asking. Very important question. Did the Pelosi security chief, this guy, David Lazarus, did he perjure himself during the Oath Keepers trial? Now, he was part of the protective detail covering Pelosi, and they say this guy is Steve Baker, good follow on the X platform, says that this guy appears to have given false testimony about his whereabouts during a key encounter with the Oath Keepers. We know that because the CCTV footage shows he was in a different location. So they're going to go through an analysis on this. And for each of these trials, the Oath Keepers were charged with all sorts of different crimes. They brought out the big guns, right? All of the heavy hitters from the DOJ. A lot of people got some pretty serious penalties. Stuart Rhodes, for example, got 18 years, 12 years for Kelly Meggs. They're going away for quite a long time. But they were very excited about this. And we have very little footage from what happened on that day. But during the trial, this guy testified. His name was David Lazarus, a member of Nancy Pelosi's security detail. He testified that he passed by U.S. Capitol Police Harry Dunn, the other guy we showed you the photo of, engaging with 4 Oath Keepers, quote, 3 to 4 times from the trial transcripts. He was evacuating staffers from Pelosi. He says they were all trapped. So he went on during the trial to explain that he observed Dunn arguing with rioters and that during that exchange, he eventually found an opening through the rioters and was able to rescue 11 or 12 of Pelosi staffers. During his sworn testimony, you promise to tell the truth, all truth, not the truth, to help God? Lazarus went into great detail about the problems that he had getting through the crowds of rioters gathered at the top of the stairwell. One, he got asked a question. A rioter, so-called, said, "Who are you? Who are you?" And according to the transcript, he said, this is David speaking, he says, "And you know, one attempted to, I had my lanyard on with my ID and it on it, and one, they were videotaping, and one attempted to pull at my ID. And I kind of like grabbed it back and I looked and made sure it was still there." Wow, it sounds like a brutal attack. "And then I saw an opening. And so then I just kind of like walked fast to get into the office and then check on the staff again." Wow, that sounds brutal. He walked fast after his lanyard was tugged. Maybe. Now, his detailed description of what took place, what he described as, quote, very antagonistic, and 3 or 4 times that he passed by, was a dramatic moment in the trial. He said, "Every time I interacted or came by, yes, it was antagonistic." He was even shown a short cell phone video of 4 Oath Keepers standing in front of Dunn. They said, Lazarus, they said, "Are these the individuals you observed that antagonistic conversation?" He says, "Yes." "You saw that?" "Yes." "At any point in these 3 or 4 interactions in this space, did you observe anything, any sort of, anything but an antagonistic conversation?" He says, "That's correct." Well, the problem about this testimony is there's direct video evidence that the jury never saw. It never happened. 3 Blaze Media employees, including this writer and another group, recently examined the CCTV video. And that appears to prove conclusively that this guy, Special Agent Lazarus, was not in that part of the Capitol building at the time he claimed, but was in fact in the lower tunnels that lead to the Senate office buildings, escorting senators away from the Capitol. Uh-oh. Now, by analyzing the footage from multiple CCTV cameras and by comparing the timelines associated with Officer Dunn's actual interaction on camera with the Oath Keepers, it is clear that Lazarus did not arrive at the bottom of the staircase until 3.5 minutes after the last of the Oath Keepers had left the area and were exiting the Capitol building. So the guy probably lied. So this is the reason why they don't want the tapes released, by the way, is because everybody can corroborate this. And if you have the entire internet corroborating this, that's going to be a pretty big problem for them. And similarly, another reason why they don't want these things televised. If we could see what they were arguing in the Oath Keepers trial, we would have a whole team of people providing counter evidence to their fake claims. And people would be able to respond to this in real time. That's why they delay the transcripts. They don't publish them automatically on the internets. They make you pay for them or go down to a terminal. And they don't want any audio recordings or any video recordings. They don't even want you to compare and contrast the evidence that was recorded on January 6th. They tell us it was this massive insurrection. Publish it. Give it to us. But no, people would be able to pinpoint lies like this. Lazarus emerged from the top of the stairwell just after 3:05, after tactical units from the ATF and DC had completely cleared the top of the staircase, the speaker's lobby, and the speaker's offices of all the protesters. In the absence of video evidence at trial, Lazarus's testimony served as verification by a trustworthy law enforcement official of Dunn's account to the jury. This guy was brought in as a corroborating witness to support their key witness, Dunn. But even without consulting the new video evidence, both men are on record offering conflicting accounts of circumstances in which they supposedly encountered each other at the top of the rotunda staircase. Lazarus claimed that he saw Dunn involved in a conflict with the Oath Keepers as Lazarus came up the stairs. Dunn claims the opposite. He says that he saw Lazarus involved in a conflict as Dunn came up the stairs. So Blaze Media has got a copy of Dunn's forthcoming book. Oh, man. So their books are going to be the things that really get him in trouble. Standing my ground, a Capitol Police officer's fight for accountability. Oh, gosh. Scheduled for release on pages 79 and 80, Dunn describes his first encounter on the day with Lazarus. He says, I took off, running up a winding spiral staircase towards the speaker's lobby. Now I was on the same floor as the rotunda. As soon as I made it to the landing, I saw Special Agent David Lazarus. He was being hassled by some rioters. Okay, well, apparently neither Dunn's ghostwriter nor his editor checked the Oath Keepers trial transcript, where Lazarus claims to recount the same moment in time. Question for Lazarus. How was your evacuation efforts? How did you interact with this space? How are you going in relation to what you're looking at now? That's the transcript. Objection, compound question. Lazarus says, okay, so I came up from the first level and I came up to the stairs behind Dunn. And as I'm coming up, I could see Dunn above me as I was coming up the stairs. And I looked and I see him standing there and this crowd is like right in front of him. Well, that's weird. So I came up to the first level and as I'm coming up, I see Dunn. But he's running up the staircase. Dunn's running up the staircase. And as soon as I made it to the landing, I saw Lazarus. So which guy's running up the stairs, man? This is confusing. I don't know who's lying or not. So apparently nobody figured it out. Dunn claims to have first seen Lazarus already on top of the staircase when he arrived. Lazarus claims that Dunn was, quote, above me already at the top of the staircase when he arrived. Because it's all fake. So the man who wasn't there, Capitol CCTV reveals that Dunn reached the top of the staircase at exactly the footage. Dunn got up there at 2:44. So Dunn could not have seen Lazarus there because Lazarus is clearly identifiable on video in the tunnels in the other building at the same time. And Lazarus could not have seen Dunn interacting with the Oath Keepers, quote, 3 or 4 times in a very antagonistic encounter because Lazarus did not arrive at the staircase until 2:56:45. The last Oath Keeper left at 2:53:30, already gone for 3 minutes. Again, Lazarus arrives well over 3 minutes after the Oath Keepers had departed the area. But in Lazarus's own trial testimony, he claimed that he was not present when video footage shows that Dunn was actually at the top of the stairs. This important element of his testimony was missed not only by all 8 of the Oath Keepers' defense lawyers, but also by the journalists reporting on the trial from the first floor media room in the courthouse. Yes, and it's something like that is very difficult to catch. I mean, my gosh, because everybody missed it. And honestly, I would imagine it's because they can't watch all of the footage. I mean, I don't know if they should, if they should have caught that. They probably should have caught that. But these trials, man, we covered these trials. I really have a lot of empathy for the defense. So in other words, I'm not going to dunk on the defense lawyers on this because they got adverse ruling after adverse ruling after adverse ruling I'm not saying he's dunking on it, but man, I think like this is something that the government, in other words, I'm putting this with the government. Okay. The government put a liar, in my opinion, on the stand, right? The guy lied, like the guy, that's their witness. And of course it is the defense attorney's, job to cross-examine them and to shatter their credibility, but they know this, it's their case. And they put him up there. They put a liar on the stand. So Lazarus truthfully testified that he had been escorting U.S. senators through tunnels. So they picked that back up. So as you're going into the tunnels, are you with the United States senators? Yeah. So we evacuate the entire Senate back down into the stairs, and those tunnels go across Constitution Avenue back up to the Senate buildings, where we had an area that was specifically set up to secure the Senate. Did you remain at this location? No. Once we started moving through the tunnels, I heard shots fired. Probably Ashley Babbitt that they shot and murdered. And so once I heard that shots were fired, I saw the senators were doing okay. We had enough agents with them to get them to safety. So I turned around, started going back towards where I heard the shots being fired. Now, the reports of shots fired was heard at the Capitol Police main ops radio at 2:44. This was in response to the single shot that Michael Byrd fired, that killed Ashley Babbitt. Now, this is what Lazarus heard, according to the radio communications. Epoch Times got this. Dispatcher says, there are shots fired at the House floor. I need units to respond. They're taking shots into the House floor. We need units to respond to that location, 1443 hours. So Lazarus testified, verified by CCTV, that he was moving through the tunnels when he heard the shots fired. All right, 1443 would have been 2:43 p.m. Dunn reached the top of those stairs at exactly 2:44. They saw it in the footage. Oath Keepers Ken Harrelson entered the same area only 30 seconds later. Those times are verified as well. So Lazarus did not arrive back from the tunnels and reach this spot until 2:56, 5 minutes after Dunn had been relieved of his position by the civil disturbance officers and 3 minutes after the Oath Keepers had already left the area. And so this is such good work by these guys. So shout out to these reporters, and we'll shout them out and their names at the beginning. But this is only the beginning of our unraveling. Analysis of CCTV footage shows there are much more factual inaccuracies. And this is an example of why we need the 41,000 hours. Blaze Media submitted these requests for these video clips under the new guidelines. We'll see if we get them. Now, the Oath Keepers defense teams missed these key contradictions. They filed motions for continuances. But yeah, given the overwhelming amount of video discovery involved, I agree with this. They simply lack the time and resources for a thorough review, which I agree. And we were here reading through, not the Oath Keepers trial, but the Proud Boys trial, man. And they were under so much, it was really, really a shocking and sad thing to watch. It was not justice at all. So he says, the Justice Department and the FBI did have access to the time and the resources to review this. Exactly right. But in their pretrial witness preparations, they crafted a version of the events to present to the jury that does not seem to have taken place. Right. It was that. This is my point. This is their witness. This was their case. They brought this guy in to testify, and he lied, or looks like it, in my opinion. Did the special agent assigned to the protection commit perjury? Did he lie under oath to bolster a narrative against the defendants? If so, why? Who put him up to it? And in what manner of interaction did Harry Dunn really have with the Oath Keepers? They're going to be continuing to investigate this, and I'm encouraging you to support them as they do. This guy, Steve Baker, did an awesome job on this, and he posted a follow-up thread that we're going to hit. So check them out at The Blaze. He's a contributor. He's talking about David Lazarus and this guy, Harry Dunn, the officers. He posted an updated thread because Loudermilk released some more footage that actually corroborate his claims. So here is the thread. He says, following up on our recent report, the one that we just read, we're pleased to finally be able to release a statement now. This is from Congress, along with screenshots. So this is what Loudermilk says. An allegation of a Capitol Police officer lying under oath is a very serious allegation, and it must be fully investigated. So for this reason, Loudermilk says, I am releasing these still frames from the U.S. Capitol Police CCTV video footage with timestamps showing the movements of Officer Lazarus through January 6th. Looks like this. He says, we're grateful to the congressman for helping us. He says here, On the October 4th story about Lazarus, we were able to show in great detail where he was. Here's one image of just where he was. But because Lazarus was in another Senate office building across the street at the time that the encounter between Dunn and the Oath Keepers began, we were able to track him escorting staff and senators. Okay, here he is, walking through. There's his lanyard. Lazarus can be seen moving away from the Capitol building through a lower tunnel at 237, not fighting the Oath Keepers there, and he continues to move towards the Senate office at 241. During his trial testimony, he stated that he began his return to the Capitol after hearing, quote, shots fired over the U.S. Capitol Police radio. That occurred at 243. Here's Lazarus seen moving back towards the Capitol at 245. Meaning, that does not match his trial testimony. Dunn's encounter with the Oath Keepers began at 244 and lasted about 5 and 6 minutes. Now here's Lazarus finally emerging from the tunnel to the Senate side of the Capitol building at 248. So Dunn falsely testified, Dunn did, that Lazarus was already in that location. So we've got two people with fibbed stories, lying. Dunn and Lazarus. No, we were there together. No, you weren't. Where he encountered the Oath Keepers before he arrived is this photo. Now, but Lazarus can be seen at the top of the elevator leading up from the tunnel at 248 and on the Senate side of the Capitol over 4 minutes after Dunn encountered the Oath Keepers on the opposite side. Lazarus continues to move through the lower level of the Capitol. On the Senate side, 249. Dunn's encounter with the Oath Keepers is almost over, but Lazarus testified that he saw Dunn in, quote, an antagonistic conversation with the Oath Keepers, quote, 3 or 4 times. And here he is again. Lazarus can still be seen on the Senate side of the building at 250. At or about this time, Dunn was being relieved at the top by the small rotunda by other officers, and the Oath Keepers began moving back into the rotunda. So he's in a totally different location. Now, at 252, Lazarus can be seen continuing his progression towards the House side of the Capitol. The 4 Oath Keepers are no longer there. They're no longer standing a line between Dunn and the other protesters. They've already moved. Timestamped at 252. 254, Lazarus continues toward the House side of the Capitol. He's still 1 level down from where Dunn and the Oath Keepers are, but it's already been over at 254. 256, Lazarus is still 1 floor below and has still not arrived at the staircase that he claimed to be at when he saw Dunn fighting with the Oath Keepers. By this time, those Oath Keepers have already left the rotunda and they're about to exit the east doors. 256, they're following this guy everywhere. Could you imagine if they released all this footage and we could do this for everyone? We could just go through all the transcripts and see all the Capitol Police officers and say, oh, let's follow you. Let's follow you. Let's follow you. And see if your trial transcripts match the truth. So here, he said that he saw him 3 or 4 times. He was rescuing 11 or 12 of Pelosi's officers, and they contradicted each other's statements. Dunn first claimed to have seen Lazarus at the top of the staircase when he arrived at 244. And by contrast, Lazarus testified that Dunn already standing at the top of the staircase when he came up the stairs. Now, both men lied in their conflicting stories because Lazarus was in the Senate at that very moment in time. It is a physical impossibility, says Steve Baker at TPC4 USA, to have seen what they claimed in their testimonies. We want to thank Representative Loudermilk and the House committees for access to these items and permission to release these screenshots. And so, absolutely incredible. So amazing work by this team, the Steve Baker, Blaze team contributing over there with the rest of the crew. Really, really great stuff. And I think this is what we're looking for, right? More lies, more contradiction. And let's be clear about this. These are not like civilians, okay? These are 2 police officers. Their job is to be able to observe and report with accuracy. And both of these guys were not able to do that. Why is that? What are they doing here to bolster each other's claims and to lie to the rest of us? We need all of the footage released. We need explanations and transcript releases and explanations for the contradictions. And if these people are perjuring themselves, there needs to be new trials or the charges should be dismissed entirely. Great work to the Blaze team and Steve Baker and the crew over there at TPC4 USA. If you want to follow along on that story, I'd encourage you to do that because there will be more to come. January 6th, the entire setup, I'm sure, will be revealed slowly but surely. All these contradictions will continue to bubble up thanks to great work like Steve and others, and we'll be here to continue to cover it, my friends. I appreciate you subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with a friend or family member. Thank you for inviting them to join us on our daily live streams, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends, we covered some good ground today. Now it's time to hear from you. We talked about police at the Capitol lying on the stand, testifying against people and throwing them in prison for 18 years. We got CISA censoring Americans in collusion with big tech companies and private universities to create a layer of censorship. And we also have Judge Engoron, and his newsletter, Judicial Nipples, that we talked about. Oh, gosh. All right. And so, my friends, now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about this. We're, of course, going to go over to our members-only after party after we're done here. We'd love to see you over there. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where we will go. But I do want to say thank you to everybody who contributed to the show today. Oh, my gosh. MAGA Hat Stays is sharing an Alina photo. We're going to leave that one for the after party. My goodness. MAGA Hat says, Judge's son has courtside seats at the Trump trial. Engoron is a radical leftist who works as an associate shareholder at the activist Olsham law firm in New York City. Shareholder activism implies that Ian is working to secure financial deals. What type of shareholder position does Ian have in the civil fraud trial his father is overseeing against President Trump? That's a good question. I'm not sure who that is. Ian Engoron, a radical leftist lawyer. I haven't heard of Ian yet. We'll keep our eyes on Ian. And good to see you, MAGA Hat Stays. Thank you for the nice dono over on the locals. And let's see what else we got cooking in over here. Man, that is an Alina photo, isn't it? MAGA Hat says, George Santos says, Judge and his son Laura's findings are significant, and I have flagged them for my colleagues on Oversight. They didn't think that harassing America's favorite president wouldn't have consequences? It's from MAGA Hat Stays. We got this one from Daniel Henry. Says, anytime my boy Robbie premieres a video, the title of which contains bonus torso photo. I've got to tune in for the sake of the I Can't Lead lottery. Hopefully I won't be disappointed. Well, Daniel, I don't know what to tell you, my man. I think we're all disappointed. Yeah, bonus torso photo is definitely not what we were expecting. You know, there's a lot of people who could deliver a bonus torso photo, you know, like, for example, well, some of Trump's lawyers, for example. But Judge Engoron is not what we were looking for today. Sorry. Daniel says, gross. It's a grungy old New York judge instead of a handsome Arizona attorney at law. Boo. Sorry to disappoint, Daniel. Funny couple comments. Yeah, kind of a bait and switch on that one, isn't it? Judge Engoron is not what we were looking for today. But Daniel, thanks for being here, my friend, and thanks for the funny comment. Terry is here. And welcome, Terry. Terry Williams as a supporter on our members-only stream. YouTube members, don't forget to grab the Telegram link on the community tab section on YouTube. So scroll over to community on YouTube, grab the Telegram link, and we'll see you there for the after party. We got this one. Daniel Henry says, I wouldn't expect a clean-cut, God-fearing gentleman such as yourself to understand, but allow a proper degenerate to explain. This is not judicial voyeurism, it's judicial exhibitionism. You're right. You're right about that. It is exhibitionism. That's so funny, man. You're right about that. What did I say? Voyeurism? What's the distinction? What's the difference between those two? All right, let me see if I can get it clear on my definition. Yes, you're right. Voyeurism is the derivation of satisfaction by watching people secretly, especially when those being watched are undressing. Okay, so maybe what I was thinking is that is he a voyeur, meaning he wants people to watch him I think maybe that's what I was thinking, but you're right. It's exhibitionism. It's a much better word. It's a much better word. Much better word. Because exhibitionism, here, let's just do a compare and contrast on these words. Exhibitionism, and now my search history is going to be all just wonked out, and that's going to be fun. Exhibitionism, yeah, it's a derivative. It's deriving gratification through a display of one's things. It says, like voyeurism, it is regarded as deviant behavior when it takes place outside the context. It's complicated, man. There's a lot of nuance between this judge's behavior. So you'll have to decide at home. It says, like voyeurism, display is almost universal to a prelude, including humans. Exhibitionists are not usually dangerous, although the experience is frequently perceived by the victim as threatening. Yeah. I mean, you don't want that stuff coming into your inbox. Judge Engoron's, nude photos. The exhibitionist, almost always male, may obtain gratification from the reaction of disgust or fear on the part of his victim. Yeah, I was disgusted by it. But this reaction is not always necessary to his excitement. Previously, normal individuals sometimes turn to exhibitionism, like this judge, following severe mental trauma or personal loss. I don't know. Maybe he got in a fight with his law clerk. All right, so now we know. Now we're learning some stuff. Thank you, Daniel, for clarifying that. Yeah, it's complicated. A voyeur is a peeping Tom. So the voyeur, is there a term for somebody who wants to be looked at like that? Is that what exhibition is? Exhibition through compulsive display of one's genitals. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's it. All right, thanks for the education on that. Oh, gosh, what a great show. All right, thank you, Daniel. We got this one from Ned Frankly. What's up, Ned? Ned is here for 10 months. That's a baby in a month, man. So we got a newborn in the house. Says Tishy didn't campaign on TDS. She didn't? I think I don't know. What'd she campaign on? Prosecuting Trump? And 2 plus, oh, I see. And 2 + 2 = 5. I got it. Yeah, I get it now. So both things do not compute. It's a good comment. And that's from Winston, from our friend Ned Frankly. Good to see you, Ned. And it's good to have you here. We got the blind lawyer explains, says, oh, Rob, I got some stuff for you on peptides, baby. Hey, for full disclosure, I'm not on peptides or TRT. All right, not on either one of those things. Everything that I take is very over the counter, and it's just nice supplements. I'm not on it. But peptides, I am curious. I am curious about it, though. I mean, at some point, I think that TRT makes a lot of sense, honestly. I think, why not? Why not do it? But consult a doctor. Rocky Water says, Engoron photo editor's tip. Engoron photo editor's tip. I worked hard on that, man. Did you see that, Rocky? I was cutting out Letitia's face and putting it right on his nipples. Oh, I love it. What a great segment. I mean, unbelievable. Daniel Henry says, I think you mean bonus bag of antlers photo. Bro needs to chow on something other than Impossible Whoppers before he lifts. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I was being kind to him. And he looks good for, 74. Looks, 74. And I don't know if he's eating a lot of, I don't know what he's eating, but whatever it is, he doesn't need to be sharing that with his newsletter and the rest of the world. All right, Jeremiah's here, says, announcer voice. No judicial nipples. That's the watching the watcher family-friendly guarantee. We did it. I think we made it, right? We didn't have any judicial nipples today. We made it, I think. I think we got it out. I was concerned that I was concerned that we were going to have a nip slip. And I didn't want a nip slip on this channel. It's a family show. All right, and thank you for that, Jeremiah. Yeah, I think we kept it PG here today. Hey, Voice of the People says, Rob, this should be labeled not safe for work, LOL. I can smell the halitosis in every bag. I think we all got infected. The way he flirts with his clerk is creepy, but he looks like the hat guy from Poltergeist. Yeah, and he's responsible for Trump's entire business empire. Isn't that amazing now? This guy. Isn't that fun? We got Woods Precision Arms says, I've taken progress pictures too. Never sent a damn one of them anywhere. And besides that, I will tell you, if he's got that big in a month, he's definitely juicing, no doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt. Which he's 74. It's like, hey, Yeah, probably could use a little extra testosterone. No big deal. I'm kind of planning on it. We'll see what the technology looks like 40 years from now. But yeah, of course, I've taken progress pictures too. Also, never send them to anyone, right? You just, they're for your own due diligence and for your own progress. Now, you might send them to a trainer, okay? I don't have a trainer, but some people might do that. I think that's acceptable. If you're a fitness influencer, or if you're somebody who's posting for accountability, you can post on your social profile. That's different. Hey guys, this is what I'm doing. But this judge kind of sent it out to everybody. And the weirdest thing about that, like, I don't know what the nature of the newsletter is. Maybe these are mostly his friends. Maybe everybody, wants to see this kind of garbage in their inbox. I doubt it. But the weird part of it to me was the bonus torso photo as a non sequitur, like in the whole thing. It's like just a bonus, like he's really excited about it. That's cool. But you shouldn't be exhibiting it, as Daniel corrected, to your unsuspecting listserv. And there were no other torso photos of anybody else. Strange. Catherine's here as a supporter. What's up, Catherine? Very nice to see you as a supporter. Don't forget to grab the Telegram link. We got Ravicus says, Rob, go to New York and shine that big, beautiful spotlight of freedom right on that judge's nipples. If the opportunity arises, sometimes you're just called to act. It's like a bat signal goes up. We got to go do something about these judicial nipples. If I'm called to act, I'll be there. I will take the call, Ravicus. We have to save America. Rocky Waters here says, Rob, thanks as always for what you do and how you do it. Legal question. Do the gag orders apply, for example, to performing arts? Like, could Alina mime out her thoughts on the judge's staff with reporters without violating the order? Thanks, Rocky. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. And I saw somebody mention they could do charades, right? Or Alina could just like point to the judge and the law clerk and be like, bang, bang, they're making bang, bang or something, maybe they're doing like some bang, bang over there, and we all go, oh, or they're passing notes to each other or something like that. You can mime it, or something. I think the judge would probably scold him on that. Or Alina could do like an interpretive dance, for us all. See how that works? So, answer no, right? Any communication ultimately the judge is going to say is, like what is the message ultimately? Are you communicating a message about my notes? Well, you can't do it through crayons. You can't do it through skipping or sign language or anything. So it's about the communication, but it's a funny comment and a good question. We got GDL says, take Nipples' law license away. Well, we'll see if that happens. I think New York is very happy with him. Oh no. Andrea Cummings is here. Yes, my friends, be careful with kids around the Hunter Biden laptop book from MarcoPoloUSA.org. Word of caution from Andrea Cummings. Do not let your kids open the Biden laptop book. My daughter opened it, slammed it shut, and looked horrified. Scarred for life moment. Which, yes, it's a really, I don't know how old your daughter is, but might need to get a team of therapists for her after that experience. I mean, she'll be okay because she's got you there for her. But yeah, it's traumatic. It's like, yeah. It's not good. I hope she survives. Yeah, not good. She'll be okay. It's good to see you, Andrea. Thanks for the funny comment. I was gonna go a little, darker down that road. We're just not gonna do it because it's your daughter. But she's amazing, and she knows now. She's experienced a little part of the horrors that exist from the Biden crime family. So thank you, Andrea, for being here. We got this one. Quarter Native says, Engoron appears to be the dude who was bullied in high school and now manages the newsletter because he has to prove he accomplishes something in his life and was always the cool kid. Everyone should regret not noticing back in the day. What a dork. I agree with you on that. It feels like that, right? Hey guys, look what I'm doing. It's like, nobody's liking his Facebook posts. Nobody's liking his posts. So he has to just shove it down your face in a newsletter. Look what I'm doing. I'm prosecuting Trump and my nipples. Bruce Wayne is here. Says, my blood has been boiling for 40 years. Nothing ever gets fixed. Just a Band-Aid from Bruce Wayne. Well, yes. So yeah, talking about the downfall of America, I think that you're not alone, Bruce. I think you've got a lot of good company here. A lot of blood boiling out there around these parts. And we do have a lot of incompetent people out there. We're going to see if we can get a course correction here soon. But Bruce, thanks for being here. Dolphin fan is the man in the house, bringing in 5 new membos. Guess who's coming in? AC's here. We got For the Lulls. Taylor's joining us. Mads is in the house. And your mom said is in the house. Courtesy of Dolphin fan is the man, bringing in 5 new membos. Scottish gal says, Rob, when discussing the J6 trials, you seem surprised that the government put a liar on the stand. I mean, it's not the first time they've done this, just saying. Oh, no doubt about it, yeah. I mean, maybe surprised, more like disgusted and, disappointed. It's their witness, but they're hiding stuff from us, and that is reprehensible to me. I mean, as a prosecutor, don't you want to do justice? Don't you swear an oath to do justice? I was never a prosecutor, thank the Lord. But don't you have an idea of doing justice? Or is it only about winning and just moving up the chain in the DOJ? Yeah, it's just gross. All right, good to see you, Scottish Gal. It's a great point. They do put liars up there because there's a lot of liars in there themselves. Voice says, we know the J6 narrative is a lie. If you listen to the 1.5-hour hearing of Stephen's son to Congress, you can tell who orchestrated it. Yeah, Stephen's son is the former Capitol Hill chief of police. He was there on the scene calling Nancy Pelosi, calling the sergeant at arms, Michael Irving, and others to do something about this. They never did anything. Then he was asked to resign. He got blamed for it, wrote a whole tell-all book, which is awesome, and has now, I think, become a lot more vocal about what actually happened. And I agree. I think they orchestrated it. They wanted it to happen. They couldn't secure the Capitol building when everybody even filed permits to protest. Give me a break. Good to see you, Voice. Thanks for being here, my man. Knox Bierman says, late again, but glad I missed the gross old judge in a wife beater. Yeah, you missed a good miss. Yeah, it's a good miss, Knox. No need to see it. It's not worth it. Jesser Bob says Areola Engoron, just the nips. Arthur Areola Engoron is his new middle name. Arthur Areola Engoron, just the nips. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Look at all these membos coming in. Woo. Hey, Saint Chef is here. What's up, Saint Chef? Thank you so much for stopping by and being a membo and donating 20 membos into our incredible community. We got Eagle 80. We got Junior Coltrane. We got Don A. Maria K. We got White Rabbits here. We got Rage Star, Jonathan Spence, Fulltime FM, TG, Phil S., Joseph S., Mirko, RK Abrex. We've got Joshua G., Bruce Wayne, Daniel D., 2T, 2 Tim, 3, Castro Valley Lip, Drea D, and Patrick B, along with Connie, all came in courtesy of Saint Chef. Man, Saint Chef, thank you for doing that. 20 membos. And that means new membos, we're going to see you in our after party. So grab the Telegram link on the community tab section in YouTube. We'll see you over there, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for our members only stream at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see you for that stream tomorrow. The good doctor is over on Locals, says, I don't think these 2 cops alone conspired to lie about J6 alone. What is required to pierce the prosecutor? The law enforcement privilege to get email, cell phone info so we can catch these prosecutors. Would be a constitutional amendment. Would a constitutional amendment fix be required? Well, so if you haven't, internal legal work product is very highly protected. So you'd have to have some evidence of some nefariousness such that a judge would enable you to discover the stuff on the other side. Now, I think this is pretty big, but I think that the general answer is that the judge says, well, you should have cross-examined them better, right? You should have just done a better job cross-examining them. And so they might say, well, we didn't know about this evidence. And they would submit a petition for post-conviction relief or some, this would be in their appeal, a motion for a new trial or something like that, before I think that they would just give you a motion to go get access to their emails, cell phones, and those things. Like the proper mechanism would be a motion for a new trial to redo this thing over again. But we don't necessarily need a constitutional amendment to fix this. They're just not supposed to do this. Like they're not supposed to lie on the stand. But it's DC and they can kind of get away with whatever they want. Quarter Native is here on Local, says, Engoron is targeting Donald John Trump like he bagged his green field in high school. LOL. From Quarter Native. We got Fred Pedamonte says, Rob, 2 + 2 = 5 is Winston Smith from 1984 Orwell. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. From Fred. Catching me up on the other comment earlier. Hey, Daniel Henry says, lest you be accused of sexism, so long as you're fat shaming the female DAs, I get to wimp shame the male judges. It's only fair. That's fair. I'm fine with that. You know, that's true, by the way. It is true. You know, we got Tishy, Letitia, and Fanny. And I just, you know, their names are what their names are. You know, I can't really help that. But you're right. You're right. Arthur Areola Engoron does look a little bit wimpy. It's only fair. I'm fine. I'm fair with that. Yeah, I think that's a good compromise, Daniel. Thank you for that. Tim the mechanic says, sending in a tip for being late all the time. Sorry. Yeah, it's a late fee. It's like if you're late for class. Hey, you know what the rules are here. Drop it in the jar on the way out. All right. Thank you, Tim the mechanic. Thanks for being here, man. I'm glad you made it when you made it. Woods Precision Arms is here. Says, oh, I have a question. Okay. The lawyers can't file anything, but isn't it true anyone can file a motion for a court case? Can't someone else file to see the communications of the judge and his girl? Yes, you can, but the court doesn't really have to accept your filings, right? Like if you're not a party to the case, they're not really going to accept your filings. Now you could ask permission or, a move to intervene or something like that. But if you're not a party to the case, then they're just likely going to reject your filing. So I think what you're probably thinking more like an amicus or something. You get permission for leave to file an amicus brief and you can submit a memo in support of a motion or something like that. But unless you're, really connected, you just don't have standing to do these things. Now, I think that maybe you could file a judicial ethics complaint and say that I think the bar is going to say you don't have standing for that. So yeah, it's going to be curious. I think that the right course of action is for Alina and the rest of the team to appeal him, to honestly to file it and then to appeal it. And if he sanctions them for filing it, then they appeal the sanction, right? Or if he issues an order to show cause or anything, they got to appeal that. And they got to go headstrong into it. And I think that they're probably plotting that right now. But it's a great question. And we'll see what they do with it. Thank you, Woods, for sending that one in. Knox Bierman says the prosecution is all about winning and moving up to judgeship. It's not supposed to be that way, Knox. I know it is, but it's not supposed to be that way. And to be honest, I did know some good prosecutors, when I was working with them. I knew some prosecutors, I knew this one prosecutor, man, who is still practicing. I won't say his name. But we talked through so many cases, and it was like justice. And it's not common because he's in a small courtroom. He's a small contract prosecutor for a small city. But we could sit there and just talk through cases. And it's like, wow, this is what it should be. And then you go into other prosecutors' offices and they say, I don't care about your client. Just sign this plea deal. Get the hell out of here. Okay. Your cop did this, and this. I don't care. We know he's a bad cop. Who cares? And the problem just compounds. NY's here says they overreacted about J6 just like they overreacted and embellished Charlottesville. Meanwhile, when the U.S. Portland courthouse was under siege, the same politicians blocked federal help. Wise up, people. They aren't interested in at least pretending to play by the rules. Yeah, and I think that the overreaction was by design. Right? I don't think they were just being hysterical. I think they really milked it. They're like, oh, perfect. We just caused this to happen. Trump stepped in it. Now we've got leverage to stop him from doing stuff on the way out. Remember, it was only the 6th. He could have pardoned people. He could have done a lot of stuff between the 6th and the 20th. And they needed leverage over him. And this was it. And they got it. And Quarter Native is here. Says, girlfriend, Rob, girlfriend. It's not Greenfield. It's girlfriend. For Quarter Native, it's good to see you. We're going over to the X platform to see who is chatting away over on the X. We got Vientikiss is also in the house. Good to see you, V. So that, my friends, thank you for those very generous donos and the lovely support. Very awesome of you to do that. Let's say hello to our friends on X before we wrap it up for our after party. And of course, you can give us a follow over on the X platform at Rob Govea ESQ. We are posting all of our stories and segments here. 7 viewers! Oh my goodness, that's almost 10. And so this is where we're chatting away. We're posting our other stories here. You can see the full segments are there. So if you want to retweet and spread them around or leave a comment, it's a great place to go. You can also connect and follow other watchers on the platform, which we'd encourage you to do. We're trying to build a little bit of a community out there, you know? All right, who's here? The Antikiss is in the house, says this is your Smith-Munt Modernization Act. They're not fact checkers. They're the narrative control team. Danny says, I was eating and you had to show the photos. I'm reporting you to Elon. We'll send you the bill to clean my carpet. All right. All carpet cleaning, vomit bills you can send our way. We'll do what we can to help those out. Breaking news, Marco Polo's new book is called Judge Engoron's Laptop from Fred Pedemonte. Danny says all lawyers should write to Congress. You too, Robert. Well, we're digitizing our streams right to Congress right now. James Pepper is here. Says the New York courthouse is on a radium plant. That doesn't sound good. Oh no. Vox is here. Says Engoron's torso. That's just unfair. I bet if someone blew on it, there would be a cloud of Cheeto dust. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Bad visual. Shiloh says, here's a clip to come. Irene says, you heard my eyes today. It's okay. Your shows are that great. I'm willing to put up with those awful bonus photos. Even Tishy. It was a bad day. I was prepping the mind map for this segment today, and it's just like, oh gosh, this is going to be a doozy. Raven says, Judge Sunu emphasis on ew. Buff Chetty says, thanks for shining the big, beautiful spotlight on all things too pale, too male, and too stale. And we got some good comments in the house. I'm not being stingy with my likes here. I'm just reading away. So we got some good likes in the house, and we appreciate everybody dropping by on the X platform and saying what's up. We got a couple more comments before we wrap it up for the after party. Newton Leroy says the creepy judge has listed his judgments from the trial in the newsletter. The trial's still on. He's cruising for brownie points. This is weird. And speaking from the home of possibly the best golf course in the world, Scotland, I thought our justice system was bad. Yours is next level. Phil says, I saw a picture of Tishy that might explain why Trump calls her peekaboo. I'll spare your eyes. But do you know why he calls her that? No, I don't. There's a nice photo of Alina Habba over there on the platform as well. So on the X profile, Alina Habba's over there. And yeah, she's looking like she's getting ready to go to the pool or something. So that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it right there. Of course, thank you everybody for your incredible contributions today. The super chats, the donos, they really do help, and I appreciate you supporting the work that we do here and keeping things on the track. We are going over to our members only after party over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and we would love to see you join us over there at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also have our website, robertgovea.com. You can access this exact mind map. So if you want to navigate the mind map around, best to do it from a PC, but sign up for the newsletter. You'll get access to it. You'll also get a tutorial video where I explain how to use the mind map in case you're curious. And there's also show reports there that you'll get delivered to your inbox with the daily newsletter when that one comes in. So certainly check those out. Also got some new donos that came in. Thank you, V, for flagging these. Almost missed those. V sent these ones in from our friends over on Locals. Wood Chip Bill says, working the polls, which can be applied to a number of different things. Elections. Oh, you're working the polls today. Elections today, right? It's Tuesday. Elections today. Wood Chip Bill is working the polls. Awesome, Wood Chip Bill. We're glad that you're out there, boots on the ground, keeping tabs on the elections. We're glad that you're doing that. Thank you, Woodchip. Keep it up. We got NY says, so this liberal tactic of overreacting, as I described before, is best dealt with by a feather from Tucker Carlson's cap. While when encountering disingenuous, far-left, baseless accusations, I just laugh and laugh loudly at them. Try it. It works. Yeah, so I think Tucker has the format right on this. You just live very well and you treat them with maximum contempt. And that's a pretty good format because they hate people that live well because they're so miserable in their lives, which is why they want to control everything. I'm jabbed. I hate myself, so you have to do it too. You know, government. You don't support my cause? Yeah, you're a bad person, all these things. So you just laugh at them and just say, you're acting so weird. Why are you like this? This is weird. No, I'm happy. I'm good. I'm fine. My life's great. I've got a nice family. Got beautiful things happening. So, well, I'm sorry you're so disturbed. No, I'm not going to be disturbed with you. No, I'm not going to use your letters and your pronouns. No. And I don't even feel bad that you hate me. I don't even care about you. It's like, I don't even think about you. They can't stand it. And Tucker's like perfect at it. He just laughs right in their faces and they can't take it at all. Fiona, what's up, says, good evening, Robert. Adore your show. Precise language matters. You're right about that. You're right about that. And I learned a lot more about exhibitionism today, which is a fun thing. Smarter every day, my friends. Okay, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. My friends, we would love to see you join us over there because we do a members only after party. We do streams in the morning, so we'll have another stream tomorrow, and hopefully you can join us. Before we get out of here, I want to thank the mods and the meme smiths modding down the fort for us and clipping away. Vientikis, thank you for all of the hard efforts today. Vientikis Prime in the house, our friend K Bean. We got Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, Zulu's here, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janek 909, Dog Digger, and Donut Mind Me, all helping keep things nice and orderly around here, including our meme smiths, Jigam Gigam, Nathan N810, and of course our friend Sleepy Dog Lee, all memeing down the fort for us. My friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going to be back here tomorrow to do it all again. And we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.